So things I would say is people you trade with, you don't go to war with. So the more we focus on trade and opportunity and growing these other economies in the world, such as Colombia, which is very important to have that free trade agreement long term for the Central American and Latin American region, it's better off for us, an economy as a whole. And the second thing with that, it brings prosperity not just for that part of the world, but for ourselves. Because freedom is what it's all about at the end of the day. And what this country can stand for, along with many of your countries and your economies, is that freedom really means something. And in that freedom, you have the opportunity to have conversations like we're having today about how to advance a common cause. And that common cause is better lives for ourselves and our families. And I very much appreciate the chance to have the conversation with you all today to talk about what Texas is trying to do as we work together. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We still have time. We do not let the secretary go away right away. So, any questions?
What do you find as some of the common stereotypes about Texas when you go?
Now, that's not a fair question. The question was, are common stereotypes about Texas that we're all smart, good-looking, and have a lot of hair? I bypassed 2 or 3 of those at least. I think common stereotypes are, and I grew up in West Texas, so I think most people have a stereotype that it's flat and dusty and there are no trees and water. Then they come to Houston and they go to East Texas and they're amazed by how different the topography and geography of this state truly is. And so I think part of my job with my staff, working with y'all, is to travel and let people know about, one, that Texans are truly very receptive to outsiders. We're very friendly people, and we like doing business with the rest of the world.
Questions? Please.
Take the question. We have some issues that Dutch nationals are prisoners here, and their rights are violated according to them. Are you the person to speak to?
No.
Somebody told me that.
You may contact my office. We'll be happy to pass it on to both the governor's office and to the Department of Corrections. Those issues of law enforcement and prisoner population, every country has its own criteria where it determines who's being treated fairly and appropriately. I think that our system here does a very good job, and the truth of the statement would be, and this sounds a little harsher than it means to be, forgive me for it, but if you don't want to be locked up in Texas, don't break our laws. It's fairly simple that way.
So yes.
Bill, just to put you more on the hot spot here.
Yeah.
I know there's a disagreement between President Bush and our Supreme Court about constant notification about prisoners. You have a point on that?
I think that the Supreme Court respected Texas' position on the view, and we won that case. And I think the president has a unique perspective that is his own, and I think the state of Texas had to defend its position. And it's an interesting dynamic to have a former governor arguing against his...
He was to take the same position as
yes.
Texas when he was governor.
Right. So it's an interesting dynamic to have...
The dynamics are further than that. These things are documented in the Vienna Consular Convention of Vienna 1963, and this is international law, which America agreed to. So how can a state, or less than a Czech part of the United States, who signed this treaty, say, it doesn't apply here?
I think that's where we go to court.
Well, that's where we are.
And that's my point, is that it's a position that, to my earlier line, if you don't want to be in trouble, don't come here and hurt our people. And so sometimes you get wrapped around in the very important nuances. I don't want to dispute the nuances of that at all, and that's why we're having a trial. But the bigger issue sometimes has been great harm caused to Texas citizens. And so sometimes, and that's where we come down as a state, is that in the greater argument, how do you protect your people? And then we ought to have the discussion and the legal position arguing to before the courts about what we can or can't do in that process.
Well, it's like a Miranda decision. No policeman is exempt from doing it right. If he does, it's his fault the guy doesn't get hanged.
And that's why we go through Miranda, which was a court case that directed you to do that. So I think we'll wait for clarification from the Supreme Court on how that goes out.
Any more questions?
That was a hot
Yes,
spot.
Paul?
It wasn't. We were discussing with Randy yesterday, migration issues, demographics, changing populations. One of the great success stories of Texas, people moving in from the rest of the U.S. and from outside. How do you see race relations in Texas, and how do you want to handle the migration
Sure.
issue?
Well, and the question was, how do you handle race relations and migration issues? I think what's unique about Texas in many ways is that the people of different ethnicities have blended. I mean, I'll speak from a personal example. My sister married a Hispanic gentleman, and they have 3 beautiful children. I think that's reflective of the state. And I think because of that, you're seeing much more, it's our cousins, it's our neighbors, it's our relatives, and we're all part of that family together. We haven't had the same challenges, I think, that California had, for example, where there was this whiplash of anti-immigrant feeling. Now, you're going to have loud naysayers in every community. I think that's part of the political discussion. But our position has been on the border in particular. We should focus on border security, working with our federal partners, talking about trying to crack down on drug trafficking, human trafficking, and other lawbreakers. From a security standpoint, that's a state obligation to work with the federal government. But at the end of the day, the federal government has to make a determination of a type of program, whether it be guest worker or not, to help sustain the economic process and also be respectful of people's human rights and the treatment they receive. So I think Texas has very much a pro-legal immigrant policy, one that would support things like the expansion of the H-1B visa program, bringing the best and brightest to our country and to our state to work, and at the same time be respectful of the enforcement of rule of law, and also that benefits people who are here working, who aren't working in the shadows anymore, that they get the same employment, wage, and legal benefits as anyone else would in the economy today.
One more question, if we have. So.
Thank you all so much for having me. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
We had something special done. This is the first time. Actually, we have given several presents to several speakers so far, but this is unique, and this is the first one with its brand name, the Gulen Institute. So thank you for coming again, for your time and cooperation.
Thank you. How many of y'all are from Turkey?
And
All right, I'm going to tell my story real quick. My Iran story. So, my dad lives in Turkey. He lives outside of Adana. And so I went to go see him this summer as part of my trip. And we're in Istanbul having lunch, and he's got kind of a funny sense of humor. That's a nice way of phrasing it. So he goes, "Do you want some yogurt?" Iran.
Turkish drink.
Turkish drink. I said, "Sure, it sounds great." So he brought it to me, and I've never had it before. And I went, And it's not sweet yogurt. It's very bitter. It's basically buttermilk. And so he got a big laugh at this fellow's expense. And I had my first Iran. So next time I go, I'm prepared to do that to somebody else as opposed to having it done with me, because it's very surprising. I loved your country. It was beautiful. And we took a little boat ride out in the Bosphorus and had a marvelous time. And you're represented well by your institute and by your leadership.